Laptop computer spins onto the screen, opens, and displays ATP Education Program webinar series, closes, and then spins off the screen.
Switch control on the iPad, advanced features. So by now you should be able to set up your switches, configure your switches, and select a scanning style, as well as make some customizations or some personalizations to how the scanning happens. However, there are a lot of advanced features that can really take your scanning or the end user scanning to the next level. With iPad OS and iOS 14, a lot of these new features were introduced. One of the first features that was introduced was the ability to be able to get to the Bluetooth selection in the switches section rather than having to go out into settings and selecting Bluetooth and then selecting the Bluetooth device that you want to be able to use to control switch control. Head tracking and facial recognition is another feature that was introduced. And basically, it uses your camera to track your head movements to be able to control the mouse rather than using item scan or a gliding cursor. And facial recognition is used to be able to capture certain facial movements, such as blinking your eyes, opening your mouth, scrunching up your nose, to be able to perform specific actions, such as a click or move back an item, those types of activities that you may want or actions that you may want to be able to perform by using various facial movements. Platform switching, the ability to be able to switch scan on your iPad, but then control your, let's say, a MacBook, or if you want to control your Apple TV or another iPhone, you can actually do that from your switch scanning on your iPad. You just give control over to another device. You scan on that device, and when you're done, you can give control back to control your iPad. Mouse control, while this is not specifically a feature within switch control, mouse control allows you to be able to use either a Bluetooth mouse or a mouse that you plug in to your iPad and use the mouse to be able to select items. So it really gives you control of all the items on the screen by actually using a mouse. And voice control allows you to be able to use your voice to control everything on your iPad, to be able to switch between apps, to select items, to be able to change pages, to open up apps, full control, as well as enter in text or go into the dictation mode. So switch control can be found under settings, accessibility, and switch control. There are some other advanced features that really give a lot of power to your iPad, and switch control really enables users to take it to that next level. One of them is called recipes, and recipes are these pre-programmed actions that can be temporarily assigned to a switch to be able to be performed every time you hit that switch. And we'll talk a little bit more about recipes in a little bit. Long presses allows you to be able to long press on a switch, and so when you do that, it performs a secondary action. So in essence, that single switch can actually act as two switches. And if you're using two switches for switch scanning or step scanning, you can actually have four actions that can be used with those two switches. And we'll talk a little bit more about long presses a little bit and how you're going to do that. Head control. We briefly talked about that a little bit earlier, but the ability to be able to use your head to control basically a mouse on the screen and move around the screen with that and make selections by using facial expressions. Gestures, the ability to be able to capture gestures and utilize those gestures within specific apps that those gestures will make sense in. And then Siri shortcuts. Siri shortcuts are shortcuts that you can create that can be elicited by using Siri, your voice, but it also can be available as a button on the menu, a shortcut button on the menu to be able to perform a lot of actions such as turning on and off your lights, controlling your music, doing screenshots, taking selfies. All those different actions can be captured by using those specific buttons. So a really, really powerful tool to be able to control your environment and access those things that you want to be able to do. So there's a lot of customization that now can be done on an iPad, and there are just a whole series of customizations and personalizations that can be done. How you scan items, how items are, how you tap on items, how you can change cursor speed, you can change how fine that you want the cursor to get, you can change the color of your cursor. There's recipes and loops. So there's a lot of different customizations that you can do depending on the user and depending what are the needs of that user. One of the really nice ones is called tap behavior, and tap behavior can really save a lot of switch clicking of the switch or movement of the switch. By default, when you're scanning, when you select an action, it will display the scanner menu. It'll give you some options. But sometimes you want to be able to bypass that menu and just select an item automatically or tap on an item automatically when you select it. So there's another option you have, what's called auto tap. And basically, when you go across the item and you get onto an item and you select it, after a predetermined amount of time, it'll automatically select it. If you don't want to do that, you can actually hit your switch before that amount of time is up, and you'll be able to get to your menu items. And then there's always tap, which means when you get to an item and you hit your select button, it's automatically going to select it. If you need to get to some of the menu items, it's going to show up in the bottom part of the screen. That will allow you to still get to those menu items, but it will do that always tap. So if you want to do the customization of tap behaviors, you're going to find the tap behaviors under default scanner menu. You'll see auto tap and always tap will be available. So you have default, auto tap, and always tap will be available under tap behavior. And then also focus item after tap. Where do you want that next item to pop up when you hit your switch again? There's also customization for switch stabilization. So sometimes you'll have a user that will end up hitting the switch twice inadvertently and making a selection that they don't want to, or go to a menu item that they don't want to. So there's some options that you have in order to get more accurate with your switch clicks. And one of them is hold duration, which is, it basically says that you have to hold onto the switch for a specific amount of time before it's recognized. So it won't take those real quick inadvertent switch clicks. You can very slowly change up those increments to a tenth of a second, a 20th of a second, that there's going to be a little bit of wait time. So you get rid of those inadvertent switched activations. You can also hit where it says ignore repeats, so it won't ignore a repeat of a selection. Again, that's all depending on the needs of the user. The other nice really feature that I like a lot is menu customization of menu items. So typically when you first set up switch control, there's a set order of your menu items, and but sometimes you may not want some of the menu items. Sometimes you may want to put some of the menu items toward the end and the more used ones to the beginning. You can actually make all those customizations of the menu items, and I'll show you that real quickly. So when I'm scanning, you're going to see I'll turn on my scanning by triple clicking my home button.
8:21 a.m. Monday. No more Reese app Sunday brunch June 20th Sunday brunch FaceTime calendar clock
So you'll see
comma 5:26 p.m.
you can see I'm actually going through all of my menu items, and when I select something, you're
Tap
going to see I have all of these menu items that pop up. Tap, edit, today, scroll, home, gesture. So I have an option of all of those menu items. But maybe I don't want to have that. Maybe I'm working with a beginning switch user that it's just too much stuff on the screen and I want to be able to change that. So I'm going to triple click my home button to turn this off and show you where that's at. So if I go down into accessibility and switch control and I go into menu items, you'll see I have a top menu item and then major categories behind that. So the top level is basically when you hit that switch and you do a selection, what's going to pop up are all of these menu items. And we went through a bunch of those, but I don't want all of those. So I'm just going to turn a couple of those off. And we'll keep home there. We'll take off flip view or split view, gestures, editing, and refining. Let's go to take off device and media controls. So now you'll see when I go in, and actually I'm going to go in, I'm going to turn off the sound here real quickly so we don't hear all the sound effects and speech as we go through. All right, so now when I go in and I turn on my switch control and I start scanning through and I make a selection, now you notice I have a lot fewer menu items that are there. I can actually even move those menu items around by clicking. There's a slider that will let me to, or a grab bar that will let me move those around. But now what I can do is I can actually take away a bunch of menu items and for that beginning user and then slowly add them as they get used to the functionality and the need for using those specific items. So let me turn this off again. And I'm going to go back into my menu items and I'm going to turn them all on again. And now that menu will be fully populated as I did before. And I talked a little bit earlier about moving them on the right-hand side. You'll see there's little grab bars that will allow me to be able to move those around in whatever order I want. The other nice feature that I can that's available is you'll see where it says add menu items on the bottom. What add menu items will allow me to do is to be able to add menu items from some of those sub menus that we talked about a little bit earlier. All right. So recipes allow a user to temporarily assign a special action to a switch in place of its typical behavior. So when I elicit a recipe, it kind of takes over, the recipe takes over that switch. So I don't get the menu items and those types of things, but it allows me to be able to perform a specific action for a specific amount of time, like pages in an ebook. So let me show you how that works. And let's go into my Books app. All right. So here, in order to be able to turn pages on the book, I'd have to go through a lot of different menu items. But when I turn this on, when I go through and I'm going to select the menu item for recipes. So I'm going to go into recipes and I want it to turn pages. So I'm going to select that recipe. And now when I hit my right switch, it switches the pages. It swipes from right to left. It's captured a gesture. Or if I hit my left switch, it's going to swipe from left to right. It's captured that gesture. And you can kind of see it on the screen as it goes through there. So those are what recipes do. Now you set a time when it's going to time out. So if you don't hit the switch in that specified amount of time, it'll go back to the regular scanning menu. So it'll go out of the recipe and go back to that scanning menu. So I'm going to turn that off and we're going to continue on real quick. Just show you a couple of the other ones. Gestures, you'll see like the swiping of the left and right. That was a capture gesture. You can create gestures for any application that you need to have a specific gesture in, and you capture that, and you can actually turn that into a recipe if you want to be able to do that also. Long presses, that allows you to be able to press for a specific amount of time on a switch. And once you do that, a secondary function will happen for a specific amount of time. So it will use that secondary action. So basically you're turning 2 switches into 4 switches or 1 switch into 2 switches or 2 actions that will be performed when you touch that. Playback control allows you to be able to have playback control of kind of media apps. So let's say you're watching a video, instead of having to go through all the menu items to fast forward through it or backtrack or change the volume up and down, playback control allows you to very quickly and easily get to that. Same thing if you're listening to music. Siri shortcuts is another really powerful tool that will allow you to create these shortcuts or create these macros. Typically, you would use the Shortcuts app to create Siri shortcuts, so you can tell Siri to do something. But with switch control, you can actually use those same Siri elicited shortcuts in the menu. So an example is, let's go into shortcuts real quickly here. So here's my Shortcuts app. You'll see there's a bunch of shortcuts. There's also a gallery where you can select them that Apple has already pre-populated those with. So let's go in and grab one that says morning routine, stay healthy. Let's go into brush teeth timer. I'm going to add that to my menu by tapping plus on that. So now when I'm scanning, And I'm going to go in and I'm going to select my shortcuts. It's way on the bottom. You're going to see I have my brush teeth timer, which is right here. And I hit that and it's going to select a specific timer. And it's going to go for about, I think it's 20 seconds. So it's going to let me know how long I need to be able to brush my teeth. So I'm going to turn this off real quick and I'm going to finish up. All right. And we'll get the timer should pop up here in a little bit, letting me know I haven't done enough to brush my teeth. I'm going to go device switching. We talked about that. Control your other devices. Head tracking. This is what it looks like. You can tell where you want your head, what you want to track on your head. And then here's where you're going to capture specific actions with your face to perform specific actions. Gliding cursor, I can change how fine I want it to be and how precise I want it to be, which is really nice. And the last thing is contextual menus. The beautiful thing is it knows when it's in specific types of apps and will bring up contextual menus based on the app I'm in or the situation I'm in. So this is an editing app for if I'm in a word processing document. It knows, so it's using all those actions that I would use in a word processing document. So switch control resources, a lot of them out there. AbleNet really has a nice set of user guides for switch control on the iPad and other devices also. And then Apple also has their support for switch control also.
Thank you for watching. For more information on the ATP education program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov/education or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.